Now we're going to take a look at how to add a weld bead table to a drawing. But before we do that, I will be using two files in this lesson, Workbench Complete and Workbench Drawing. We're going to begin with Workbench Complete. What we're going to do is add a handful of welds to this fabrication. We're going to add welds to each one of the table legs and base plates. We're going to add a weld to the gusset and to this upper left-hand corner. For time's sake, we will not be able to add welds to the entire fabrication. So let's begin. I am going to zoom up on the bottom of the workbench and roll the model and zoom up on this first leg here. Go to the Weld Bead command, Property Manager opens. First thing I need to do is create a weld path, and the fastest way to do that is with the Smart Weld tool. So I'm going to select it, go out to the screen, hold down the left mouse button, and I see a preview of the path. However, I want this path to wrap all the way around. So I'm going to go back to the Property Manager and select Tangent Propagation. And there you see it. I'm going to define my weld symbol next. It's 4 millimeters. Weld symbol is fillet. Looks good. I'm going to say OK. I am now ready for my second weld path. There's my second leg, third leg, fourth, fifth, and you see how fast this is, and my last leg. And I do want you to notice it created in the Property Manager 6 individual weld paths. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. The weld folder is created. We have 4 millimeter fillet welds, and there's 6 of them. And if I expand it, we can modify each one individually. I'm going to go back out to the screen, and now we're going to add a weld to the gusset. I'm going to go into the Weld Bead command. Notice the weld path is now 7. I'm going to use the Smart Weld tool and select right about here. And it creates my first path. Now I want this to be on both sides of this gusset. So I'm going to go back to Property Manager and select both sides. And notice the preview updates. I'm going to go up here and create another path and say OK. Now we're going to zoom out and zoom up on this upper left-hand corner. Go back to the Weld Bead command. We're on weld path 9. I'm going to use the Smart Weld tool once again. And I want tangent propagation. I'm going to sketch my line across this first one, second one, and third one. Now, these are 3 unique weld paths, so I need to go into each one of them and define my weld symbol. Let's say 4 millimeter weld. I want this to be a V groove. I'm going to say OK. Do the same here. V groove. OK. And the last one, define weld symbol, V groove, and OK. Close out of it. And in the Feature Manager tree, you can see we have all of our welds here. And now we're ready to go to the drawing and add a weld bead table. So let's do that. Workbench Drawing. I am going to go to the Annotation tab, the drop down icon for tables, and select Weld Table. It's prompting me to select a view. I'll select this view here. Now, if you notice, this Property Manager looks very similar to an earlier lesson for managing cut list. So I'm going to accept the defaults. And at the tip of my cursor, I have a weld bead table. I'm going to place it. And you can see inside of the table, I have 4 items. The weld size for all 4 of them is 4 millimeters. We have fillet welds and a V groove. Weld length, material has not been specified, and quantity. And this concludes our lesson on adding a weld bead table to a drawing.